Hello, my name is Sylvia Fouhy, and I'm delighted to be here talking to you today on International Women's Day. First, just a little bit of background on me. I work for Johnson & Johnson. It's the largest healthcare company in the world. We've got 3 divisions: consumer division, think baby products; medical devices, think anything to do with the operating theatre; pharmaceutical, think anything to do with the pharmaceutical products, but what everybody's talking about and in the news these days, it's all about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I've been in this company for 30 years and I've worked in all 3 of those divisions. And I've worked in Ireland, I've worked in Switzerland, and I'm coming to you now from Princeton, New Jersey, where I'm based in head office. I'm going to talk to you today about my journey through the organization, and share with you some of the experiences that I've had and some of the learnings and guiding principles that I've applied to my career. And very often when I listen to talks or when I do courses, I always look for the nugget, right? No matter from everything you hear, what's the nugget? And I'm going to say a lot of stuff over the next 15 minutes. I'd like you to think about what's the nugget. Some of it won't resonate with you, but what's in there that is the nugget that you can take in your backpack on your leadership journey as you could progress your career. So let me start from the beginning. So I started as a management accountant in Janssen in Little Island, and I've did probably about 18 different roles within the company. My current role is I'm responsible within its medical devices division. I run its supply chain, the front end for our customers globally, which really means that anything to do with the operating theatre, my job is to make sure that we get the product from a systems and a network perspective into the correct customers and hospitals. In addition, my role is to digitalize the supply chain end to end. So that's taking the medical devices supply chain and ensuring that we are setting it up for the next 10 years from a digital perspective. And that's end to end visibility from our suppliers right through to the customer. It's a far cry from the first days when I started balancing books down in the Janssen facility in Cork. So let me tell you and let me share some experiences that I've had and some guiding principles that I hope you'll enjoy. Number 1, the joy of continuous learning. When we get our degree or get our qualification, it's wonderful, but really it's just the ticket to the game, right? It gets you on the playing field. And as you progress your career, the criticality of continuous learning cannot be overstated. And when I talk about learning, I talk about it in 2 different ways. First off, there's the what, which is subject matter experts, whatever field you're in, understanding, keeping up and understanding what's going on. You know, I'm working in a field now with digitalization that, you know, we didn't even talk about when I was getting my degree. So being able to keep current and understand where you are on your subject matter expertise is really important. As important, I refer to it as the how. How do you develop your leadership skills? Right? That's mean, how do you manage people? How do you manage conflict? How do you learn to inspire people? How do you become brave, right? How do you really lean into situations and lead the organization through good times and bad times? Every night I go to bed, right? And before I go to bed, I ask myself, well, what have I learned today, right? It's like washing my teeth right now. What did I learn today? Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good, but every day I learn and every day I build that learning muscle. Number 2, resilience. It is so important when you build leadership that you build resilience. And let me tell you why. The more experienced and the more senior you get in your career, the bigger the problems are to be solved. When we start off in our career, we start, pretty young, probably not as resilient as we would hope, right? But it comes with experience. What you're trying to do is to build the resilience muscle. So no matter what happens, right, you fail, you pick yourself up, you go again. I've had many really, really successful experiences in my life, in my career, but I've had many, many opportunities that I could have done a lot better. And it's through these learnings, right, of failure, of understanding what I could have done better, that I have truly learned. And you think about developing that resilience muscle. So the more senior you get in the organization, the more complex problems you can solve, and the more you can weather the storms at a senior level within the company. Number 3, learning to master that little voice in your head. I think it's probably very real for female leaders, right? Maybe more so than males, in that little voice in your head that's going, can you really do this? Right? Am I good enough to do this? Learning to, and I don't want to use the word control, but learning to befriend that voice, to be going, I hear you, but actually I got this. I got it, right? I know what I'm doing, and I am fully confident in what needs to go ahead. That brings us to trust, learning to trust yourself. And I mean learning from a heart perspective, your moral compass, knowing who you are, from your mind, back to the continuous learning piece, and knowing your intuition. For females, I think that's a hugely powerful combination, and one that I have used throughout my career. This concept of learning to trust yourself, right? So when that little voice comes, I got it. I know what I'm doing, and I got it. This doesn't come overnight. Again, you gotta work on it. You gotta make sure that you're continuously learning, trusting yourself. Know thyself. Courage. Learning to be courageous, right? Learning to run towards the problem. Learning that you need to step out of your comfort zone. And when you go out of your comfort zone, that's where the truly magical can happen. I remember when we moved to Switzerland first, my husband, my daughter, and I, and everyone thought we were crazy to do that. 20 years of my career I've been in Ireland. The last 10 I've been outside of Ireland, and we moved when everything was going so well for us. We took the plunge and moved, and I went to lead the consumer division out of Switzerland. I remember the first Friday night, we looking at each other going, oh my God, what have we done? Right? It took a huge leap of faith, but back again to the knowing and the trusting. I knew it was the right thing to do on so many levels. I knew from my heart, my intuition, my brain, and we had talked it over as a family, and we had agreed it was the right thing to do. But scary as hell. And there's been so many times in my career faced with decisions. Do you run towards the problem or do you back away from it? Learning to run towards the problem, to make things better, and developing that courageous mindset has been invaluable for me. Next one. Learning to ask the killer question. Building intellectual capital as you progress your career is really important. And what do I mean by that? So you're at a meeting, you're having a conversation. Your role is to think on the topic and then ask the right question. A question that will add to the intellectual conversation, the level of discussion, and you're aiming to bring it to a higher level. So really listening, really understanding the topic, and then asking yourself, how can I add to this, is really, really beneficial. And why? Because you're building that intellectual capital. you're becoming known to be the thinker that can think at the current level, but also at the higher level. To be able to do that, demonstrating that you can think more broadly and higher than the current discussion that's going on. Build your intellectual capital. Diversity. So for many years, I have been, I've worked in supply chain, in a male-dominated environment. It's better now, but when I started off and I moved from finance into supply chain, I was the only diversity statistic in the orthopedics industry, in the company. I was the only female director. It took me a long time to figure out, well, how do I play? Who am I in a sea of, males in a very male-dominated orthopedic industry? I eventually got to the point where I just decided I just need to be me. Not to pretend I'm a man in a skirt, not to pretend to be other than who I am. And it's relaxing into it, being confident in who you are, having your continuous knowledge, having your trust, and trusting yourself as you go through your career. Finally, I would like to tell you, life's all about experiences. None of us are going to get out of this life alive. It's really, really important for me to live my best life. It's really important to me that I leave my career knowing that I did the very best I can. And it's really important to me that I have enjoyed it. There has been very, very tough times. There has been super times, but every day I learn, every day I evolve as a leader. And I would highly recommend, right, that if you want to be a leader, just embrace it, just dive right in and start your learning journey. That's it. I hope that in what I have said, that you've got at least one nugget that you can take, right? Take into your backpack, and the very, very best of luck on your career journey. Thank you.